How's it going, all you minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions, and join me today for my overview of the Ballad of Halo Jones, the full color omnibus edition from 2000 AD. And welcome back, everybody. So, what we're looking at today is the Ballad of Halo Jones. This is the newly released omnibus edition from 2000 AD. And before I go any further, I do want to thank the folks at 2000 AD Rebellion for sending us a copy of this omnibus. Now, there is a limited edition, slipcase edition that you can only get through their website. If you want to check out their website, I'll leave the link below. And again, that is only available through their website. If you live in America, you have to order from their website. Otherwise, it is just this hardcover right here that is available everywhere. And I believe there's a restock coming soon because it kind of came and went. So first of all, let's talk about this cover, because you hardly see purple on pink. You don't really see these colors used for books, so it really stands out. You have the Ballad of Halo Jones, the actual logo there, the full color omnibus edition, and Alan Moore's groundbreaking feminist heroine from The Guardian, a little blurb there. Alan Moore, Ian Gibson being the artist, and Barbara Nocenso being the colorist. Now, these were originally published in black and white, and I'll do a comparison to those right there, thanks to my buddy Super Laugh Hard. The Ballad of Halo Jones, Alan Moore, Ian Gibson, Barbara Nocenso in 2000 AD down there. And then the back of the book, the ultimate edition of Alan Moore and Ian Gibson's feminist space opera. Neil Gaiman, my goodness, Kieran Gillen, who actually does a forward here, and Lauren Bukes. All of them just praising this book. And there's a really interesting story about Neil Gaiman, hearing because I do need to talk a little bit about the history of Halo Jones. 2000 AD, Rebellion down there, $49.99 is the retail price. No dust jacket, it is just art on board. And I'm sure the question is, wait, this is an omnibus, how does it compare to an actual omnibus size? It compares like this. Here we have a Marvel omnibus, and this book is just about as tall, but it is definitely longer. Here, let's see. There we go. You can get a better idea of how much longer. It does have a flat spine. I know we're used to those curved spines, but that's the way it looks. So yes, it is a little bit longer. And not as thick, of course, because it doesn't contain as many issues as an Omni. Unless you're looking at the Devil Dinosaur Omnibus. Shifting the focus back to this book right here. In case you don't have Omnis and you only get trade paperbacks or single issues, here it is compared to the size of a trade paperback, which is the trim size of a comic book here in America. So, just doing a little size comparison here. Alright, we're going to crack this book open. We are going to talk about the binding and build, of course, but talk about some of the stories and what makes this a masterpiece to a lot of people, what I thought about the story, and then could there potentially be any more stories after this? Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with minor spoilers as to what the premise of this is. That's it. Again, I will put timestamps in the description of the video if you just want to skip that and get to the binding and the extras. Alright, cracking this book open. Here we have what the end paper looks like, and all the different blurbs about this particular series and how important it is, and the Ballad of Halo Jones. This is a series I only knew about because of my viewers. I hadn't even heard about it. I mean, of course, I've heard of Alan Moore, but it's a series that I had never read. Last year, Rebellion 2000 AD was kind enough to send me a copy of the best of the 2000 AD books, and one of the stories was the first book of the Ballad of Halo Jones. And while I didn't really fall in love with it, I wanted to keep reading more. Ha! That's not a dad joke. I just really wanted to keep reading more. Here's your table of contents. You have a foreword, an introduction, and then the 3 books, and then Creating Halo Jones. Again, artwork by Ian Gibson. Now, these books were originally published in black and white, and I'll do a little comparison here in a second. Here is a foreword by Steve McManus, talking about the importance of this book and what it did for 2000 AD, and Kieran Gillen, who is currently writing one of the best X-Men titles as of this video, and in charge of Sins of Sinister. So, here we have book 1. What exactly is this? Why do people talk about this book so much? when I give you the premise, you're going to be like, I don't get it. And honestly, I didn't either until I got to book 3. Okay, so book 1, very, very simple. We meet a group of 3 friends that live with their cybernetic dog. That's Toby. So we meet the main character, the protagonist. She is a young teenage girl. I think she's 18 at this time. And that is Halo Jones. And she lives on this particular part of planet Earth called the Hoop. And it feels like New York City in the future, like a rundown New York City, just because it's by the ocean on the East Coast. I don't really think they get into specifics. Now, Halo lives there with Rodice and Bryn. And again, their cybernetic dog right there that can talk, that is Toby. And the first book, all it is just an adventure to go and get food. That's pretty much it. They go on an adventure to get food, and that turns into a misadventure of a shopping trip until she makes it back to the apartment. And here you get to see the different classes of people. Here you get to see her run into a really good friend, and she becomes a different drummer. And it's almost like a cult, if you will, that these people will end up joining, and they can hear things in their ears. Now, when she makes it back home after this misadventure, and it's not very long because each chapter is about 5 pages long, making up one of the books, right? So you have the Ballad of Halo Jones right here, Consumer Protection. So it's just this long right here before about 5 pages before you get to the next chapter, which is chapter 4. Now, when she comes back from this adventure, something horrible happens that changes her mind about where she is. There is a death that occurs. And when she sees this death, she tells one of her friends, like, I can't stay on this planet anymore. I have to get out of here. So she decides to leave Earth and go to outer space. Now, the idea is she tells Rodice, one of her friends, like, hey, I will come back. Or no, let's meet up a year from now. We're going to meet up a year from now and exchange adventures to see what we've done outside of this. Now, she's not alone because Toby decides to follow her on her next adventures. So let's pass over to that, to book number 2. This is where she ends up becoming a stewardess on this ship. It's a luxury space liner called the Clara Pandy. And in here, she gets to meet a whole new group of friends, like Toy, who actually plays a part in the 3rd story. And that's what this is right now. Now, this, again, was like, okay, it's fun, but it's a little hard to read because of the dialogue that they're using. They're using this futuristic, hip dialogue, and I still don't get it. Until I got to the ending of this chapter. And, until I got to the ending of book 2. It's where she's sitting around and just drinking and thinking about her past and thinking about her future. Now, a year has passed, and remember that promise that she made with Rodice about getting back together? Well, that leads into the heavy drinking, and that's where we leave her, at this bar, all depressed, and you feel so bad for her. But I feel like the older I get, the more you experience things like this. Not really betrayal, well, there is some of that in there, but more so just disappointment. And it comes in different points in life, and it comes in different shapes, sizes, magnitude. But she's just sitting there alone at this bar drinking. That leads into the 3rd book, and the 3rd book is when I was just hooked. I love the 3rd book. I wanted more of this. So in this, 10 years have passed, and it's a dark part of all of this, right? Even though somebody was killed, even though there's betrayal, even though there's death, this is just a huge war that Halo has become a part of because she's a soldier now. She's serving in this army, along with some friends that she gets to meet. And holy crap, the way that this ends, I didn't see coming. And again, more heartbreak, and you feel so bad for her. This is what I think a lot of the people described it as an every woman type of character that just gets thrown into the middle of all of this because all she wants to do is escape. She wants to escape this world that she lives in, this Earth. And who doesn't feel like that from time to time? Whether you're from a small town or a big city, you just want to escape. Doesn't matter, metaphorically speaking, or if you just want to escape your job, your family. Yes, I know, there are days, right? Like, you just want that sense of escape. And it feels like she finally got it, but all these bad things get thrown at her. And completely out of her control, and only Alan Moore could speak of these things, like, while doing a social commentary. Sadly, because of you wonderful viewers, and because I had to do a lot of research, the series never ended. He intended on it to be 9 books long, and we only got to the 3rd book before he got into a dispute. Imagine that, Alan Moore getting into a dispute with the publishing companies and walking out of the project, swearing that he would never write for them again. Now, he does have ideas for Halo Jones, because one of my favorite stories that I read was Neil Gaiman talking about Halo Jones and how he approached Alan Moore about how he would have finished Halo Jones, and they had a conversation, and he swore he would never tell in detail as to what Alan Moore had planned, but it brought him to tears. And I was like, damn it. The potential, the possibilities are there. Man. But, like I said, I can understand why anybody new to this would see Ian Gibson's art, even that gets to evolve, and end the dialogue and be like, I don't know, this doesn't feel like Alan Moore. And it doesn't at first. It doesn't. It doesn't until you get to the ending of the 2nd book, at least to me. Then you get to see, okay, I think I see what Alan Moore is going for here. By the time you get to the 3rd book, it's when it becomes, I can see why people hold it up on a pedestal. Like, because I came into it way late, of course, I really wouldn't put it in my top 5, top 10 favorite Alan Moore story. I don't know, maybe top 10. I have to do some rethinking about that. But it's just, yeah, it definitely hits a certain sense of nostalgia for people, I'm sure. But for me, coming into it new, just starting reading it last year and finishing reading it in 2023, it was like, okay, there's a lot of good in here. Better than I've read a lot of comics, but still, I don't know if it's top tier Alan Moore. I could be totally missing something, though. And that's just my honest opinion. Alright, this book has 240 pages. Let's look at the extras. Now we can do the non-spoiler stuff. Alright, so here is the extras all the way in the back. There is a Guns, Guys, and Gore written by Alan Moore in 1986. And it's a little behind the scenes on creating the characters of Halo Jones. The script, if you want to get crazy and check out how Alan Moore writes a script and how detailed it is, if you want to redraw it, if you're an aspiring artist and you ever get to work with somebody like Alan Moore, keep in mind this is a script that was written in 1983-84 when he came up with the concept. And there is Ian Gibson right here from 2001 and an interview with Ian Gibson doing the artwork, of course, for Halo Jones. And then some house ads and pinups and covers. These are the prog covers of 2000 AD that they actually used Halo Jones in. I love that cover. That's the cover to the complete Ballad of Halo Jones that Super Laugh Hard, again, thank you so much, sent my way, which we'll do a little quick comparison to. And another cover right here, just Halo and Toby. And then bios on the creators here, including Barbara Nocenso. Now, the book is printed on this glossy paper. It's not the thickest, but it does definitely do its job. The end paper's actually printed in this thick matte paper, so it's a little different than the paper stock they're using here for the actual book. Alright, so let's take a look at this, because I remember when I read it in the Best of 2000 AD, my question to the audience was this originally in color? Because it feels like it was in black and white, and then somebody later recolored it. That's just the sense I got from it. Okay, so let's get here, because take a look at this. It is a soft cover, so I have to hold it down, but this is what it looks like compared to this. And one thing you might notice, and it might be more noticeable if I hold them side by side, is that the art itself, sorry, here, let's do this, looks to be about the same size as this book, even though this book is bigger. But you can see that the white space on the top and bottom are bigger than the white space here and here. So this is about the same size as this. I don't know if that's every copy, of course, that was ever published, or if this is the biggest copy we've had published, but that is something I noticed. And I'll be honest, even though I could tell it's recolored, I actually like the new colors, or the actual colors on this as opposed to the black and white. which I'm sure feels like a smack to the face to a lot of my viewers that grew up reading it in black and white. I never read it. So I guess this feels like absolute Swamp Thing, the Alan Moore run being recolored to new readers that never read it. They're like, oh, this is beautiful. Whereas I was like, that's not the way that scene played out. Because this is the way, of course, you remember it, and this is the way that it's now being remastered. So this is the differences here. So it is nice because you can see that she's got blonde hair and the color of hairs that her friends have here. I don't know, I dig the colors. I don't mind them that much. The paper stock in this one's a little see-through. It is glossy paper that they're using for this one. And again, this is a soft cover. And there's just something that makes it a little dirtier with the colors too, as opposed to that. And it really lets it be known that you are living in a dirt city with a bunch of poor people and you're not going to go anywhere. Although this is really nice. The contrast in black and white there. It's beautiful. All right, let's look at another chapter. By now we flip pages because it's just the way the books are built differently. But this is the exact same page as it plays out here. And yeah, in the black and white, and it happens a lot in manga and in black and white comics, you can see a lot more of the black coming through from the opposite page. No matter what type of paper stock you're using. There is this really thick matte paper, though, that I do like they're using in the Berserk books. And let's look at the third book. And again, on opposite pages. This is one of my favorite chapters right here, the Tarantula Rising. But that is the way it looks. Again, looks to me about the same size as this edition, even though this edition, put it to the edge here, is taller. Now, the binding of this book is sewn binding, and there is that eye right there. Again, 240 pages. And that's it. That, as they say, is that. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this Omnibus Edition. Let me know in the comments down below if you've never read Alan Moore's Halo Jones, if you've read it just in black and white, if you read the recolor version, which you prefer, if you're hoping one day Alan Moore will come back and write this character. I would love to know all those comments down below. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications, and more importantly, all of you stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.